Hey, still in? Yeah.
Still here.
Right?
Yeah, but I got some good news.
Good.
Yeah, I see 50% or more of my garden
Yeah,
shirt.
you're looking good. Looking healthy. If you can hold it, Jesse, he can make it happen. Test 1, 2, 3. Here's Johnny. Oh, we got fun tonight. But I know anybody walk in there coming straight from jail to there, we'd have to be completely full tonight. Yeah. And then they will help you.
Hopefully July 17th. I got a sponsor.
Who's your father?
Muhammad.
Muhammad?
Yeah, because he still do Sober Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came here from the healing place, but they jerked me around with the new healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. You know, I was there for like I missed in 2018.
You were there a year and a half?
I was there for like a year.
A year?
I was there for a whole year.
What the fuck happened?
No, I mean I was there 3 months, just last year.
Yeah, but you
know, that was like in 2019.
Yeah, but you should have launched. You should have never gone.
Yeah, but I went there. My PO sent me there when I got out the last time.
You know how hard it is to stay there for a fucking year? That's a big deal.
I know the big book in and out, so
that
ain't
is
no.
a big deal.
But it's the field members. You know how they be predictive and all that.
Oh, because they cocksuckers don't mean you got big cocksuckers.
I try to like
I ain't
do
talking
what I'm supposed to do. Try to do what I'm supposed to do.
Steve Williams?
Huh?
Steve Williams?
I ain't seen him in a while. I see him on Facebook every now and then.
I'm gonna do meetings when I get out. So therefore, when as soon as I get out, they be like,
you
"Yo,
love it, man.
I'm just getting out." Because matter of fact, Mike, bald-headed Mike, he was in here. Got cancer now. He was at the machine.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I was in my.
I bet 20 of y'all been to the machine.
I ain't never been there before. I've been over there to the meetings.
Still see the Walton guys?
Who?
Walton.
They fucking. It's goddamn Matthew. He just goes around the country playing guitar. And then Parker, I think he got a job consulting for some country in Europe.
What they do with the
That Mike right here.
I think they're just doing online shit, but I don't think they're doing nothing with it. I don't know.
Crazy.
I see their seeds at the grocery stores, you know. But they're pimping.
They gave them out that day when we was all
Yeah.
Then you barbecue, remember?
Yeah, I popped some of them seeds not long ago.
Derby doing all right? Derby.
He's doing great. Getting ready to have a baby.
Is he?
You got that crazy ass girl,
Okay.
Kayla.
Did he?
Yeah, he knocked her up. What's up, boy? How you doing, man? Yeah, how you doing? Good. You looking good?
Yeah, thanks.
Getting the weight on?
Yeah.
Trying to. How they treat you?
Good.
Nice. Everybody behaving?
For the most part.
How'd y'all like seeing Bruno last time?
It was good. You know, it's always good when you see somebody else.
That motherfucker got some smoke.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, man. Right there.
4 years. But hopefully I'll be home in 3 years with the law that's what's on the 1st of July.
So that might help you. We're coming back. Hey, get the girls excited. They see that shit.
Yeah, time out on that. Time out. Time out.
Give me one.
What's up, man?
Give me
How
one.
you doing?
It ain't started yet.
I'm on tape, bro.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Time is burning up on us here. How y'all doing tonight? Is that it? Just all right? There you go. Man, we all rejuvenated, recharged, just had a killer 3-day weekend. You know, y'all missing a lot of stuff by coming up in here. Y'all know that, don't you? I mean, y'all should have seen him yesterday. I watched a lot of different videos of all the events that I missed because I was busy. By the time you cut that thing up, man. Now, look, I was thinking on the way over here, I try to, I ain't Marshall. Marshall does a good job inspiring you guys. He come up in here, he motivate the hell out of you. Me, I just more like, here's some information, do what you want with it. But I like to reinforce it with some positive affirmation. And, I do speak a lot about you get what you get when you do what you do. You ever heard me? I know I say that about every day of my life. And I try to tell folks or share with people, you guys are in a good position, you men and women. You're in a good position to not do drugs, figure out a way to lose that desire to do drugs, and find a new way to live. Now, you get a lot of time to think while you're here. Thinking ain't the worst thing for us, especially when we're in a controlled environment. Thinking's only a problem when we're back out there with them old people, places, and things. And I'm leading into an aha moment for some of y'all. If you're thinking like you always thought and you go back to old people, places, and things, that should be a guarantee it ain't going to end good or it's going to end up like it did before. However, if you get a new way of thinking and do the best you can when you leave here and you hang out with new people, places, and things that are like-minded in the recovery process, that could actually be your story. Are you fucking with me or you got a boyfriend over there? I mean, that's some, you got, we only come in here for an hour every 2 weeks. I would think you could get that done before we come up in here. Anyways, if we did a poll on, well, I ain't even going to go there. But back to the thinking. Pay attention. Think about this. We're going to get what we get when we do what we do. If you do active addiction-related stuff, you're going to get active addiction-related results. If you do recovery-related stuff, you're going to get recovery-related results. Now, what's that got to do with you? Well, I'm going to share a vision with you. Think about this. We just had a great 3-day weekend, okay? Cookouts, barbecues, social connection, recovery connection, family, love, support. I mean, just a good old-fashioned American time. And it's hard to get that in here. And I know we get at least 3-day weekends a year. And then you get these other holiday seasons. These are times and periods where you want to be with your loved ones, your family, your friends, with the community. And the only thing you got to do to get that way of life, a day at a time for the rest of your life, is change the way you've been thinking. Stop hanging out with old people, places, and things. Select new people, places, and things. Try recovery. I promise you, you will not be disappointed in the recovery process. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That sucks. It ain't no fun. No, that ain't so. We have a lot of fun in recovery. Recovery does not suck. Matter of fact, you compare it with active addiction and the recovery lifestyle, there is no comparison. My old friend used to equate it such as this. Active addiction is like a shit sandwich. Recovery is like a Twinkie. You think about that. I know Twinkies ain't the healthiest thing, but they're a lot better than a shit sandwich. And I'll be honest with you, I'm only coming up on 42 years clean and sober. Sounds like a long time for some, it was a long time for me. But let me tell you, my mother's really glad I hung in there. My family's really glad. I know the IRS is glad because I get mail from them all the time. My community's happy. When we're in active addiction, we have a negative ripple effect. Our active addiction affects everybody, people, places, and things. But when we get in recovery, we have a recovery ripple, and it's a good ripple. You want that recovery ripple. And I would bet money right now there ain't a loved one of you people that ain't pulling for you right now. You got a lot of people care about you. There are a lot of people pulling for you. The sheriff is pulling for you. These COs are pulling for you. You can go all around. You can travel to the United States of America like I have. I've been inside of 46 different states, jails, and prisons. I know what's out there. you're actually lucky and blessed to be in this situation where the sheriff allows us to come in here and bring you that hope shot. And we come every 2 weeks. We'd come more if we could. And I would hope you'd show up if we did come. So you got to take advantage of this opportunity. You know, the last couple of years we've been coming in here. I've heard every speaker we brought up in here. They're good speakers. You can learn from every single one of them. You focus on the similarities, not the differences. You'll walk out of here a wealthier person than you came in here. And I'm glad that Greg has joined us as one of the team members. Marshall would be here. I'm sure he's watching. We can say, hello, Marshall. Say hi to Marshall. I guarantee him and Brenda are probably huddled up right now. They probably stopped what they was doing down in Fort Lauderdale, rushed over to a laptop so they can watch this meet. That's the kind of people they are. You know, you got people watching all over the world seeing what we're doing. So we want to give them something good to watch. Anyways, Greg, I can't thank you enough for coming up in here and being part of the team. Let's give a warm welcome for Greg.
Hi, everybody. I'm Greg. I'm still an alcoholic and addict. A lot of you folks have seen me here the past couple of months. It's always a pleasure to come down here. It helps me as much as it helps you. Hopefully you'll hear something that I have to share that might resonate with you. But I got a phone call earlier on the way down here, and it was a collect call from a correctional facility. It was from a guy I met in the AA program who I got to know. Had no idea he was in trouble. And I guess about a month and a half ago, he said he's getting ready to go down to jail for 13 months. He's in the Norfolk jail. And something he shared with me about the Norfolk jail is you only get out the cell once a week. And I was worried about how much, when I did time down in the city jail in 1985, I was sharing with Ross on the way down here. I did 14 and a half months in the city jail in 1985. No air conditioning. I got to tell you something. I've seen some stuff and been through some stuff, but down the city jail, you see all kinds of crazy stuff. But I'm thankful today that I don't do things to end me up back in the jail today. I did 5.5 years total. And for the people that are new here, I know what it's like to sit out there, sit in that seat that you're talking about right there, and have somebody come in and share the story. And I was glad to hear it because I needed to hear something. I didn't know how to live. I kind of bumbled and stumbled and fumbled through life. But the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the program of Narcotics Anonymous and other people that have taken me under their wing in recovery have taught me how to live. I've got a big book. It's the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. For me, is a roadmap. It teaches me and shows me how to live on a daily basis, how I can stay sober for 24 hours today. Coming down here tonight, I know when I leave here, I'm not thinking about going to get any alcohol. I can promise you that. I'm not thinking about going to get any methamphetamine, and I'm not thinking about going to get any cocaine. I can promise you that. I've had enough of that. I'm at the point in my recovery that there's no more margin for error. If I take another drink or do another drug, I can promise you my life will be over with. Or I wish it was over with, I can tell you that. Because I don't want to be back here. I don't want to be back in another prison, another rehab. That's why I come down. John says he's glad to have me a part of it. I'm honored, and I'm so happy to be a part of this. You know, it takes me 50 minutes to get here. It's a little haul, but told somebody a long time ago, I'll go to any length to stay sober. I'll do whatever it takes to stay sober. That's why I come. I hope that I say something that somebody might pick up on. If it just reaches one person, then it's worth it for me to come down here. I love coming down. I look forward on Tuesday night. My wife said, you get awfully excited. I said, well, the door still sounds the same that it sounded back in 85 when I first got locked up. When that door slams, Still sounds the same. And it's a good reminder for me. It's a good reminder for me. You know, I was telling someone, I'll get ready to wrap it up real quick because I brought a great speaker tonight, Ross, who I've met in the program. Don't know Ross real well, but when he speaks, I listen. Because you can tell people who are serious about the recovery. You can tell people when they speak, and not only talk the talk, but the people that walk the walk. I live a life of recovery today. I don't just work this program, I live the program. Because that's what it takes for me to stay sober. I was talking to a friend of mine who from high school, Thomas Jefferson High School. We were friends since 1973. You know, and our paths are different now. He's married, got kids, they're grown, got grandkids and stuff. I'm married, but I don't have any of that. He calls me at 5 o'clock, probably when he's 5 minutes away from his house. He pulls up in the driveway and he goes, I got to go. I said, well, what do you mean you got to go? He said, I'm at home. He's got to go home, be with his wife and be with his family. He is what I call a 5 o'clock friend. After 5 o'clock, I can't talk to him. So when he calls me, and he ain't talking about shit, no way. And he'll call me just like, like he's checking in on me. I don't need him checking on me. I got people, I got friends today. I got real friends today. I got 3 a.m. friends today. I got friends in this program. I can call, if I'm on fire, I can call at 3 a.m. in the morning. And they'll answer the phone. Now, they might be unhappy that I called, but they'll put their pants on or they'll answer the phone and they'll come see me if they need to. But I work hard not to get to that point where I have to call somebody at 3 a.m. in the morning. I try to talk to people all during the day about recovery and what it's done for my life. And that has turned me around. And I'm so thankful for that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Ross up here. Ross is somebody, like I told you, I met through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You have never heard Ross's story. He's got long-term sobriety, and I look forward to hearing his story tonight. Let's give a warm welcome for Ross.
Thanks. I'm Ross. I'm an alcoholic and drug addict. Greg said, come on down and speak. He didn't say there'd be like 150 people, there'd be cameras and all this stuff. My sobriety date is 9/20 of 1990. My home group is the Sunday night meeting terminally unique group in Ashland, Virginia. We call it the terminally unique group as a mockery to our ego, because I thought when I was using and drinking that I was unique, smart, dynamic. I could do drugs and drink and not get caught. I could drive a car better drunk because I was drunk. I was relaxed. I'm really smart. It's not going to happen to me. I could, snort cocaine and not have a heart attack, or huff Freon from air conditioners and pass out because I'm smarter than everybody. It's not going to happen to me. How many people tonight, by showing your hands, thought you would not be here? Thought you would not be here, and you're like, what in the world am I doing right here? Yeah, me too. My spiritual awakening occurred in a jail cell in Henrico County underneath a bunk with a guy taking a piss by my head. And I was coming to after a night of a DUI, hit and run, and driving on a suspended license. And, I grew up in a house where there was a loving mother and father. My grandmother was a raging alcoholic, so there wasn't really any drinking in my house. But there were some other isms. There was some anger. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of fighting and stuff. And but anyways, growing up, I didn't know any different. Go to school, hang out, do the young kid thing. I was thinking as I was sitting over there, when I was 10 years old, I did not think I'd be in a drug rehab, a long-term rehab center at 19 years old for 13 months. And never thought it in a million years. Went to church, grew up going to church Sunday morning, Sunday night. It's funny, we grew up Baptist, and so I'll just tell this little funny joke about the Baptists because I think it's funny. So Baptists don't drink, right? They don't drink at all. And we would say the Jewish people do not acknowledge Jesus as the Messiah. And Muslims do not, acknowledge Jesus as the Messiah. I don't know that, but the Baptists don't acknowledge each other in the liquor store. And so we were, but I started drinking when I was 14. The first time I ever drank, I blacked out drunk. It was with people from my youth group from church, church. So loved it, blacked out, the attention, all the stuff that went with it. Oh my God, you see Ross? Passed out in the snow, passed out outside. I was hooked from the first drink I ever took. Then from there, it went to drugs, and one thing when I was using, I always had these lines. I was like, I'll never do this. I'll never do this. I'll never snort cocaine. I'll never huff Freon. I'm never going to do this drug. Every single one I would cross. Every single one I would cross. And when I can remember times where I was having fun drinking and using, and then times I wasn't having fun when I was using and drinking. I can remember one night where I had taken some LSD. I had done some other drugs. I was drunk. I told my parents, I effing hate you. I wish you were dead. And F off, and I was just hating my life, like I was filled with hatred and venom. Well, I left my house that night, and I went to a friend's, and a house was on fire. It was burning, and it really was burning. And my buddy went and kicked the front door in, and there was so much smoke. We heard people screaming, and one person came out, another person barely made it out, and one didn't make it. And I'm sitting here, and I'm estranged from my family because I was choosing drugs. I was choosing alcohol over my family. I'm estranged from them, and a person died, and they brought the body out. And I can remember sitting there looking at this body, and I just told my parents, I wish they were dead, and I hate you. And they were just trying to do the right thing by me. I was a pain in the ass. How many people were a pain in the ass to their parents? Yeah, 2 hands over there. But I remember seeing that body, and I'll never forget it. They pulled it in a sheet, took it out, snapped pictures of it, put it in the van. I couldn't even go home then because I was high to say I'm sorry. I'm screwed up. I can't believe this, and fire department there and everything. That's one of the times. There's the other places I blacked out, places I passed out at. When I went to treatment, I remember saying, oh my God, my friends, I'm gonna miss my friends. And they're like, are these the friends that shave your eyebrows when you pass out? Are these the friends that leave you in your car with it running with the heat on in the summertime when you're drunk as a funny thing? Are these the same friends who put firecrackers in your car when you're drunk or passed out in it? Like, kind of funny, but at the same time, guess how many of those people were there when I was in jail and I need to make a phone call? Guess how many were there? 0. When I was using too, I can remember I even learned, and don't y'all be using this, but I learned that if I tell people I don't want to use anymore, or I've stopped using and drinking, that they would give me alcohol and drugs because they'd want to see me as miserable as they were. They would give it to me. I'm like, man, I'm trying to stay away from all that stuff. Hey, man, come on. I mean, and we're manipulative. I mean, I had a girlfriend who's like, you're drinking too much, isn't that? So I'd pour out the beer and O'Doul's, and then I'd fill it with beer and be drinking. We can always get around everything. We can always get around it. But I'm here really, a lot of people come here and they'll talk about their drunk-a-log. They'll go on these whole, 25 minutes of drinking and drugs. It's like, we all have drank and drugged or we wouldn't be in this program, right? I'm going to talk about recovery too. I'll talk about the end though of my using and drinking. I had a problem. I wanted to stop, but I didn't really want to stop. I didn't know what alcoholism really was. I heard it ran in my family. My parents told me about my grandmother and the things she would do, the screaming and all this other stuff, and they threatened, you'll never see your grandchildren again if you don't get sober. And she got sober in AA. I didn't know this till later on. She got sober in AA. So I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm doing my thing. I'm estranged from my family, sleeping on friends' couches, jobs here or there, just sucking the life out of people like a parasite. I wasn't contributing anything to life at all. And one night, I remember driving drunk a lot, and I remember not knowing where my car was, not knowing where my car keys were. And the night I drove drunk, super drunk, I fought somebody to get my keys, and I drove my car and smashed it, ran from it, and ran home. I was living with this little old lady, and I said, don't tell anybody I'm here, or whatever. This is what she told me. And Henrico police came around, and somehow they found me. And I was like, somebody stole my car, all this other crap. And he's like, bro, your license is here, your keys, this other stuff. And I was busted. and I was busted, and he had the video camera, and I was telling him all the things, it wasn't me and stuff. Finally, I just was sick of lying. I was sick of lying. I was like, it was me. I did it. I ran from it. I got charged with DUI, hit and run, driver suspended license. My parents loved me enough to leave me in jail. They didn't bail me out. I called them to get me out, and they said, you know what? We finally slept good last night. I said, what the hell? What? You slept good last night? They're like, we finally know where you are. We finally know where you are. And the things that we do in our addiction, we think, I'm not bothering anybody. Just leave me alone. Yeah, just leave me alone. I'm not bothering me, man. Just let me be me. You do you, I do me. What we don't realize is the love. People are trying to love us, our parents. They're trying to pour themselves into us. They're trying to give themselves to steer us away from this crap. And we keep doing the same dumb shit over and over. Dumb stuff, man. So anyways, I ended up where, I didn't even know this till a few years later, but my dad made it. The lawyer's like, I can get him off, this and that. I had some other charges. When I was in jail, I remember being brought out in my Henrico garb, my orange jumpsuit, and brought before the judge to stand there. And it was for an inspection ticket that was expired. I didn't even know I had that one. And so I'm like, what? This isn't for what I'm in here for? And they're like, yeah, dismissed. You got some other things going on. So back to jail till we get the other hearing. And I can remember walking out and seeing my father, my brother, and another person in my handcuffs, in my jump shoes that were super thin, in my orange suit. And that was the first time it registered, like, man, this has got to stop. Somebody said the beginning of your sobriety is when we get to a place where we say, this shit has got to stop. It's got to stop. Something's not working anymore. And so for me, I was put into a long-term treatment center called Straight Incorporated. And it was, they were all over the country at the time, but y'all have it bad here. You think you have it bad here. This place, we sat down in a chair all day. Your back was off the chair. You couldn't lean back in the chair, or somebody rammed their hand down your chair to make you sit off the chair. You couldn't talk behind people's backs. I couldn't be like, man, did you hear what so-and-so said in group today? Because we all talk gossip and stuff. I couldn't wear or talk. I couldn't wear shirts. I had to wear the same bland stuff y'all did. I remember for Christmas, I got a big, giant coloring book. I was 19 years old. Yay, a big, giant coloring book. That my parents, I'm sure, were like, yep. And some crappy sweater things. But I colored in that book. I played board games. I didn't have anything else to do. I was in a long-term drug and alcohol treatment center. I thought my life sucked really bad because I was 19 years old in a drug and alcohol treatment center. I found out today it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I remember I didn't move on in the program. Everybody seemed to come in, they'd move to the next phase or 5 phases. I was on first phase for 5 months. 5 months, I went nowhere. And I would stand up and be like, I'm really glad to be here. Hey, and I'm talking about the steps. I was full of crap. I was just always full of shit, talking, blah, 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 running my mouth, telling you what you want to hear, trying to fake it, trying to get you to believe me, trying to get me to maybe believe me. I don't know. But I would talk the shit, talk the steps, blah, blah, blah. And finally, one day, something happened. And I stood up. They called me and I said, I effing hate this place. I hate every one of y'all. I miss my drinking buddies. I miss drinking. I cannot believe that I am in this rehab center, and I cannot believe that this is where my life is at. You know what they did? They started clapping. They started clapping. I was like, what are you clapping? They said, you finally said something honest. You finally said something honest. That is where your recovery will start. That's where it will start, when you say what's going on, when you talk real and you stop with the BS. And from that point on, I moved on. And I learned to say, I'm thinking about drinking today. I really want to put a gun to my head and end it. I can't do this anymore. I see other people's lives. It seems like they're working out, but I can't seem to find whatever combination they have to get into the job. I remember having cars in early sobriety. If y'all can relate to this, I had some hoopties. I had cars that I didn't even really think it was worth to fill it up all the way with gas, because I didn't know if it would last long enough to burn the rest of that gas up. That was the tight budget I was on. It was a Chevy Chevette, and then I had another crappy car. And so anyways, I remember I also got little things that put twin turbo on the back of it, and it had like 8.2 L, like the 5.0 liter Mustangs on the side of my Chevette. But in early sobriety, after going through this treatment center, it was a long time. But the first place I went after rehab was to an AA meeting. And I went to an AA meeting, and back then in these AA meetings, there was a lot of old people, a lot of old gray-haired people, and they're all talking and stuff. I was like, I cannot relate. But they told me to go to AA meetings. They told me to talk to people. They told me to get out of myself. And so I started doing that. It was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. But I kept going until I wanted to go. I kept going and connecting with people. I started to get to know people. I started hanging out. There was young people. We go play Mario Brothers. We go do things. I had to learn to drive golf balls sober rather than being high all the time. I had to learn how to actually go to a job and show up and do the best work I can without expecting you to give me $25 an hour for just showing up. I learned a lot too, having jobs. So the Shinholzers in the program back in the day, there's a lot of painters in the Shinholzer family. So I worked for a guy in AA. We renovated houses and stuff. The Shinholzers taught him how to paint, and then they taught me how to paint. So I started painting and stuff. So the Shinholzers taught a lot of people in AA how to paint. And there was another guy named Doug Hall who sold cars. And Doug Hall used to hire every AA person, so you learn to sell cars. But I had jobs. In my early recovery, I can remember I didn't know where rent was coming from. I had to go to the Wonder Bread store and get 5 loaves of bread for $1.25. I had to get a big thing of cheese. I had grilled cheese all the time. I didn't know where rent was. I was tight. I still am. I'm tight with Jesus. That's my higher power. And I didn't know where things were coming from. I had every reason to use, every reason to end it, but I kept coming back. I kept going to meetings. I would get on my knees and ask God, please, please, I don't know what else to do. I'm losing it right now, but I'm trying to be sober. God always showed up. He always showed up. There's a song by Fred Hammond that says, late in the midnight hour, God's going to see you through. I mean, I've been there. And so I'm here today talking to you about my recovery. And in recovery, I got sober young. I'm 53 years old now. And when I say my recovery time, when I say I've been sober 33 years, as Wilbur would say, he would say, I say that not to impress you, but because it impresses me. And I don't know how I did it. And I'm not up here as if I did this or that. I don't know. There are people who have died for less. There are people who have taken a bullet for less. There are all kinds of factors. But I do know this. In the literature, it says we have a new employer, and that employer is God. And I'm here talking to you because of the grace of God right now tonight. I'm here telling y'all that you may be in here. We're in a group right now, but individually, you all have to go back to wherever you're at. And you'll have to sit with stuff in your head, even though we're around a bunch of people. And I'm here to tell you, like, I've been in those dark places. I've been in those places where I am terminally unique. I'm depressed. I got stuff going on. I think it's always going to be like this. Anybody in here think it's always going to be like this? Never going to change? I'm here to tell you today, I got into the trades, so I didn't know what job. I didn't want to go to college. I got into the trades. It was funny. So electricians, I've seen guys limping around a job site. They were electricians. I said, what happened, man? They're like, dude, I got hit someone with a screwdriver. I would be hit in the first week. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'd be dead. And then I worked with some HVAC guys, and we were in a lady's attic in the summertime. It was 138 degrees. I took her meat thermometer up there, and I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Way too hot. Nope. So plumbing it was. My cousin was a plumber. And so I got into plumbing, and I started working for a company, and I went to plumbing school, and I learned and got my master's in plumbing, and I've been doing that ever since. I'm now an outside sales guy for a place that's kind of like Ferguson, and I sell to plumbers, and there's a lot of recovering plumbers that are my customers, and I have so many opportunities to talk about recovery or to talk about the dark places that I've been at. That's the beauty of this program. God can take all this garbage in me, and he can use it to reach somebody that no one else can reach. And in my recovery, I've been through divorce. In my recovery, the hardest thing I ever had to deal with, but I did it sober, and I finished strong, as they say. My mother had multiple sclerosis growing up. And let me tell you, that is a brutal, nasty, long-suffering disease. And because of that, I am hypervigilant. Like, you could start falling right over there, and I'd probably be there and catch you before you hit the ground. Because my mom, I was always, I'd see stuff on the ground, all that stuff. But I'd be pissed at God. I'd be like the nicest woman in the world, and Charles Manson's still living. You kidding me? Really? And my mom would say, why are you mad at God? I'm good. Why not me? Make you cry. That's the heart of her. That's the heart of God. She died in 2016. I didn't want to go sit in the room when she was dying because I was scared. I've never been through that before. Never had to do that. A buddy in AA, this is what's cool about being in recovery. People who have gone, what you're getting ready to go through, somebody's already been through it, and they can tell you and help you because they went through it too. A guy told me, you better go sit with your mom. Just go do it. You will not regret it. And I sat there in the room. They call it the death rattle. And man, it was killing me. But I stood there. I would take her to the doctor and do all this stuff. And when she passed, I held her hand till it got cold. And I knew she was going to heaven. I got a lock of her hair from her hair. I sat with the body. We cried. We wept. We were there. And I was sober. And I was present. I was present for my family. I was present for my dad. I was present for the people in my life. My dad in 2021, he had a heart thing going on. And I got a brother and a sister, we're not really close. So I'm kind of like an only child. I went through the same thing with my father. Doctors, taking him there. I learned about the heart, all these obsessive things we do because I was trying to keep him alive, keep him going. And I was sober. And I remember my dad saying to the nurse in the hospital, he said, he was a pain in the ass, but he's my strongest one. He's my strongest one. And people would say, I want him with me if I'm in the hospital. I'm wiping off the handles on things. I'm wiping off the phone. I'm like, my dad's not getting anything from the hospital. I was on it with the doctors, writing stuff down, keeping things moving because I'm sober. I was able to be present, and I was able to give back what they had given me. I felt so guilty about the money they pissed away on me, the stuff I stole from them. I didn't know if I could ever pay that back. The shit that I did to them out of my selfish addiction, I was able to pay it back in full. I was able to finish strong, and my father passed. It was 3 times in one day I had to sit out in the ICU and hear code blue, Henrico doctors, code blue, room 9. And the doctor just told me, I think he's going to be all right. He had a heart procedure that didn't work out. And I remember sitting there with his dead body again that night, crying. I can cry now, man, because I miss him. I miss him so much. But I'll tell you this, they were buried in a cemetery, a military cemetery out in Amelia. My dad was a very cheap/thrifty guy. My dad was so thrifty that I went over one time and he had one green Velcroed $12 shoe and one brand new white one. He was mowing the grass. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? He goes, man, only one is bad. I'm like, bro, they're $12. Let's get rid of the other one and let's go with a new set. Nah, he was thrifty, man. He was thrifty. He was tight. But this is the cool thing. He said, yeah, we're going to be at the cemetery out in Amelia. And I'm like, I don't go to Amelia. Are you kidding me? What the hell's in Amelia, right? Because I lived over in Ashland. Well, let me tell you, that was 2021. I get this job with this company. And I end up going out to Amelia every single Monday. And I drive right by that cemetery. And I stop right in. And I talk. And I know mom and dad aren't there. But I'm like, God, you knew what you were doing. He knew I needed to do that. The birds are there. At quarter till, the with the, and I'm like, God, you were just too amazing. He knew all these things. He knew what was coming. Other things in recovery, failed relationships, abandonment issues. A painter told me this one time, okay? I'm gonna give you all some tidbits. I can call my brother right now and be like, what's the question? What's the question? So a painter told me this. He said, boy, if you're ever dating a woman, ask her what her relationship is like with her father. If she says, I hate him, you need to roll out or it's not gonna work. It's not. And the same with a guy and his mother. Ask what that relationship, I hate her. She's a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Gonna be living that. That's the example we had to go on. And the other thing he said was watch how people treat the wait staff in a restaurant. And that'll tell you everything you need to know. Watch how they treat people, tell you what you need to know. So I learned things in recovery. And I learned that I can talk to people, hold the door for people. I ended up going to a church in Creighton Court for 3 years. I am a honky. I'm a white honky. That's what I am. And I'm telling you, I grew up with some music where, white people were like on the piano, like, just as I am. And it was like, and so I went to church in Creighton Court. I followed this pastor down there, Pastor Don Coleman, man. And I don't know what happened, but I don't like white church music anymore. And they had organ music, and we would jam on the organ. And I don't know if you've ever been to a black funeral, but We had it, they called it homegoing celebration. It was a homegoing celebration. And when you're done with that, you were like, they're lucky they got to leave here and go to heaven. It's that amazing. It was absolutely incredible. And we would walk around and we'd pray for people. We'd talk to people. And you know, it helped me because this is what's cool about recovery in AA. It's the great equalizer. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what your color is, your education. We're all trying to stay sober. We're all trying to work this program. I learned so much down there, and they were closer to Jesus and God than some of the West End people who have too much. What did Bob Marley say? Some people are so broke, the only thing they have is money. You know, and so I learned a lot through my different experiences. I got baptized in a little church. I did it for myself. Little black church that was on Park Avenue, down in the basement, in a horse trough. And my mom was mad because I didn't tell her about it. I said I was doing it for me. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. I did it for myself. Recovery. So when I was in rehab, there was a story in the back of the big book. And the line that got me, it says, alcohol gave me the wings to fly, and then it took away the sky. And that's what drugs and alcohol did. Gave me the wings to fly, and then the sky is gone, and I'm just here, boom, right on the ground again. So my recovery has been like this. My recovery has had, in the past 3 weeks, I have suffered some great pains that I never wanted to deal with. I've suffered some very hard pains. So I'm here tonight talking to you. I'll be vulnerable. You want to be real? A week and a half ago, I walked into the intergroup office where this guy, Bill, works, the AA intergroup office. He's never seen me like this. I'm like a strong guy. I'm like, you know, get it done. Everybody's like, Ross, you know, nothing flinches him. I looked at him and I was having a panic attack. And I said, I don't know what to do. I want to take a bullet in my heart. I want to shoot. I want to be done. I can't take this anymore. He started crying because he's never seen me weak like that. Never seen it. And I was going through some stuff, man. And there was not a meeting. There was people I was reaching out. I was reaching out to my counsel. I was doing everything I could, but it was still in my head, this stuff going on. It wouldn't leave me. I was with God. I was doing all these things. The day comes where the only thing stands between you and a drink is your relationship with your higher power. And we will have to go that alone sometimes and go deep. And I call it divine thwartation. If you're sitting in here tonight, you've been divinely thwarted by God so you don't kill yourself. You get to stop here and get a while to say, what's going on? Maybe something's not working. Maybe my head's up my ass and I need to get my head out of my ass. It's a blessing to be here. Today a lesson, tomorrow a blessing. I'm not going to talk for much longer, but I'll just say this. I ask God before every time I speak, I said, fill me up, use me as a vessel. Let me just use your words. I don't want this to be about me. I want to bless you all. But if you're in here tonight and you're in this program, I don't know about you, but when I was in my long-term treatment center, it was not moving along fast enough. It was like, come on, man, I'm in this. Let's do this. I wish you a slow recovery. Because people would come into my place and they would bull crap, they'd get away with it, and they were done in 3 months and they were using again or they're dead. I was in there 13 months and the people that ran it knew the deal because they had been in it. So you couldn't BS it. And I was slow. I did not get my way. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I had to study harder, work harder at my recovery, go through shit that other people seem to not even have to deal with. And now I look back over my life and I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. I can have a 5-minute conversation with someone and cover more ground having a conversation in depth than I can with somebody for an hour BSing about nothing. You know, and when I was using drugs and alcohol, one night I was on LSD. I was jacked out. And it was, when you take that, it's like 12 hours of your life. You got to be committed. You will smoke a cigarette and you will think you just took a puff and the whole thing's gone when you bring it back to you. You're like, somebody would say, go look in the mirror. You'd be gone for 5 hours just staring in the mirror, man. But this happened to me and I will never forget it. I remember as we were at a party, walking around the room and I was hearing each individual conversation. So there were people talking about women, sex, rock and roll, music, money, material things, or other people. That was it. And it just occurred to me, this is it? What a bunch of crap. This is it. These are my friends. Yay. So when I was in rehab at about the 7th month, I got the itch. I'm like, I'm ready to get out, man. I want to do this. Come on, let's do this recovery thing. But some things weren't changing. And this guy, Jim was a heroin addict, and he was the best counselor you could ever have. He said, Ross, why do people even consider changing anything? Why do they consider change? Because the old way ain't working anymore. It's not. So you have a choice tonight, and we are blessed to have a choice. There are people, we've heard the fentanyl stuff. Come on. How many people were terminally unique and thought, I could just go do this heroin? Or I'm going to snort this real quick, man. I'm smart. I got kids and stuff. I know what I'm doing. I know my source. And they're dead because of fentanyl. It's life and death. And the crazy part when I was in rehab, death is not even a deterrent to an addict or alcoholic. It's really not. You could die from this, bring out a casket and try to scare y'all and all this stuff because we're terminally unique and we think that doesn't apply to us. Death's not really a deterrent. And where I was at, I didn't care if I lived or died. I didn't really care about living because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know about dying. I didn't really want to, but I didn't care. I didn't have anything to live for. And so in our literature, we talk about you will be at the jumping off place. You will wish for the end. You will know loneliness such as few do. Terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair are all you know. You cannot imagine life either with alcohol or without it. And then we will go on to the bitter end. We already had jails, institutions, then you got death. But then it talks about recovery, AA, NA. There you will find friends. You will find conviviality, companionship. Loneliness will vanish. But you know how that happens? By showing up, by being present. One of the things Greg said when we were in here that was really cool before we came in, he goes, everybody in there tonight is going to be paying attention. They're going to be sitting in their chairs listening. When I go to AA meetings, sometimes I see people on the phone the whole time. I'm like, if you can't take an hour out for your life and your recovery to just be a part of your own life, come on, love yourself, cut it off. And I'm learning to love myself. I didn't know what that was. I didn't want serenity. I didn't want peace. I didn't want any of that stuff because I didn't know what it was. Then I got a taste of it, and I want it. I love it. God is good all the time. And he's good all the time, even when I think he's not good and not giving me what I want. So with that, I am going to wrap it up. I want y'all to know you are loved. This guy, Charlie, at 210 North Madison, he said, if nobody told you they love you today, I do. And I love you. I love all of y'all. And y'all got this. Do it. Just do it, okay? Thanks for letting me share. Thank you for letting me be here, and have a great night. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that was in a nutshell. Ross covered a lot of the same stuff me, Marshall, Greg, and all the other speakers covered. If you got one thing out of it, get this part. If you do something different than what you've been doing, you're going to get something different. And, Ross, I thought he did a good job explaining how good things are. And I remind people all the time, I don't care what drug you do, you ain't going to get but so high. In recovery, you do some work, you hit that recovery high point. And once you get a taste of that recovery high, you won't want to go back to the other stuff. Because the one thing I know about addiction, we like the good shit. And that recovery high is the good shit. And I'm telling you what, man, you stick around and get that, and you got something. And that's exactly how you lose that desire to use. You got to find a new way to live. And in pursuit of that recovery high, that's the new way to live. And I ain't met an old timer yet. Ross said a lot of things, but I didn't hear him say how disappointed he was being sober 33 years. I didn't hear that. Matter of fact, I heard nothing but gratitude. And I heard the blessings and the benefits he got. And, my story ain't going to be your story. His story ain't going to be your story. Everybody's got a little different type of story here. But we all come to the same conclusion. Recovery is better than active addiction, hands down. And I don't know about you guys. I like being free. I like that freedom of choice. I like to choose. I actually eat McDonald's. I fucking love McDonald's, man. I will choose McDonald's over Chick-fil-A any day of the week. Now I know that don't sound right, but that something about choosing is good. And I had a choice today when I woke up. I can choose to stay clean or I can choose to use. I know one thing, if I choose to pick up, then I no longer have a choice to make any decisions because all my decisions are going to be get more. It's going to be jails, institutions, and that's it. You know, it's funny. Once you've been clean a while, active addiction is almost like, I know it makes sense, but it don't. Man, I beg you guys, please get that recovery high. Find out what it is we're talking about. You know, and I hope to see the day you come up to us and say, you know, you were right about that recovery high. You know, that's a good place to be. You know, and Ross mentioned something else too. You know, I used to think, you know, if I could give y'all the magic words that could make your life well and you do well, I would do it. But then I would cheat you out of you doing the work. See, there's a lot of benefit. You do the work, you get the results. We all got to go through it. I don't care how long you've been clean or how new you are. We all got to walk through the shit we got to walk through. That's our stuff. We got to do it. You won't regret it. You know, I remember when I got out the Marine Corps, I was 16 months clean. I had enough money to get into a house with some roommates, buy an old van so I could start my paint business up. And I remember me asking my dad, say, look, can you loan me a couple $1,000 so I can buy some ladders and some drop cloths? Because I'm going to be real successful in the painting business. You know what he told me? He basically said, fuck you. You do the work, you get the results. And I'm sitting there thinking, you son of a bitch. I'm busting my ass. I'm staying sober. And he was in recovery. He had 5 years sober at the time. He knows how hard it is to be a newcomer. He said, nope, you do the work. And he said, I'm going to tell you why. Because if you fail, it's going to be because you failed. But if you're successful, it's going to be because you're successful. And that was the best thing that man ever did for me, I think. You know, it pissed me off at the time. But, you know, I'll tell you another story about my dad. He was cheaper than Ross's dad, I guarantee it. My dad's over at that veteran cemetery too. You know, the price was right. But I can remember later on, after I'd become very successful in the painting business, I was telling my dad, you know, I'm going to the bank borrowing these short-term loans. You know, I had great credit, had tons of money coming in, and I was, you know, I would take out, you know, what do you call it, accounts receivable loans. And my dad said, well, how much you paying interest? And I explained to him how it worked. He said, I'll tell you what, from now on, I'm your bank. You come to me for all your needs. So here, one day the guy wouldn't loan me some money, and the next day he wants to be my bank. You know, oh, I made him a lot of money. My brothers and sisters, I got 7 of them. They used to be pissed off. Why are you always borrowing money from dad? But number one, he turned into a loan shark. The guy's making more money than most drug dealers are off of me. So don't give me that shit. You know, it's a business relationship, working out good for everybody. Anyways, I'm always glad to come up in here. You know, I too drive an hour to get here, but I don't mind, be honest with you. You know why? Because y'all are worth it. You're worth it. But more important, I get to stay clean and sober. And you think about it. I don't know about the women, but I'll throw it out at the men anyways. And some of you girls, think about what kind of woman you want in your life. What kind of house you want to live in. What kind of money you want to make. What kind of food you want to eat. What kind of leisure time, vacations you want to take, okay? You think about all that. And man, recovery, it all becomes possible. It really does. But more important, the self-respect you get. You know, you feel good about it. I look in the mirror, I don't mind what's looking back at me. You know, I like who I am. I like the way I've turned out. It wasn't always like that. I always wanted to be somebody I wasn't, you know. But recovery gave me that ability to love who I am, and I'm good with that. I'm John. I'm just an old timer in recovery, living the dream, man. And I hope you can live the dream with me. Greg, you got anything? You got 8 minutes. I love that haircut, man. Who cut your hair?
I'm going to wrap it up by saying thank you to Ross, first of all, for coming down. Let's give Ross another hand if you don't mind. It is not easy to stand up in front of 125, 150 people, pour your heart out, be vulnerable, and be honest. I've learned to do it. It hasn't been easy, but I've done it so many times now. And one thing I will always be and haven't always been is authentic and honest and tell you what it was like. I heard a saying one time, it said the magic that I was looking for was in the work that I was avoiding. And what I was avoiding was sitting down with my sponsor, sitting down with another man and sharing all the trauma and all the pain and all the hurt that I'd been through in my life that I never thought I'd recover from. The stuff still pops up every now and again. Death to my father, death to my mother, death to my son's mother, putting my dog down. Putting my dog down was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I loved my dog more than I did most people. And we had a connection with that dog. After 12 and a half years, had to make a decision. And I sat with my sponsor and I cried about that. I'll cry in a minute because you know what? I'm an emotional person and I'm sensitive, I'm caring, and I'm loving. But I grew up and I lived in an environment out on the streets that I couldn't be that. I had to be something I wasn't and somebody I wasn't. So I became somebody I wasn't. And I paid a tremendous price for that. A tremendous price for that. Sold drugs because it gave me the attention I never got at home. I like fast money. I like fast women. I like the easier, softer way. I like living on the edge, but every time I'm on the edge, I fall off over the cliff and something bad happens. So thankful today to be in recovery. Recovery has given me a life that I could never imagine. I have a wife. I have a good job. I can go anywhere and look somebody straight in the eye and look them straight in the eye. Came back to Richmond after being away for 5.5 years. Then I had to go to drug treatment for another year. Came back to Richmond. I could look anybody in the eye because I went and I did my time. And I came out and I got a fresh start. And without recovery, I would not be alive today. Without people who came and shared their story to see that if they could stay sober, then maybe I have a chance. If I can stay drug-free, maybe I have a chance. And that's why I'm here tonight to show you that if my sorry ass can stay sober and clean, then there's an opportunity for you as well. And without God, that would not be possible for me. God has done for me what I could not do for myself. God will not lead me to a place or lead me to something to get through and not be there for me. And I've been through the storm. And I know many of you have been through the storm. But I have people today I can talk to about that. When I'm going through stuff, and I go through stuff, it's not easy. It's not easy sitting telling somebody I'm going through this or worry about they think I'm weak. I don't care about that anymore. I don't hang around those people anymore. People, places, and things. I don't hang around those people. I hang around people in recovery because that's the life I live today. And listen, have a great night. We'll see you in a couple of weeks and praying for everybody. Good night.